Evil Dead Burn is the latest film in the franchise, and we have to talk about the ending because it truly sets up a ton. This is one of the most brutal Evil Dead, if not the most brutal, and I think it's top 3. But let's get into the ending. Follow us on TikTok. We have a huge giveaway once we get to 10,000. Let's talk Evil Dead. So I'm going to talk about the whole film plot a bit here because I think it's really important to go over that. But if you want to skip to the ending, you can just go right here and you can get to the ending talk, as well as a brief talk about the post-credit scenes, which are a doozy. Let's get into Evil Dead Burn now.
We found you.
So the film opens up with Joseph Price, who is going through his grandfather's findings. His grandfather knows about the Necronomicon, and I think his grandfather has some ties to Professor Noby, who of course is a big deal in the Evil Dead franchise. He is the person that Ash is listening to the recordings of in Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, but also the one that Joseph Price is listening to as well in this film as it opens up. Through his grandfather's research, he uncovers that there is a dagger that can destroy the Deadites, and this dagger is the Kandarian dagger, which this, when found, awakens the Deadites once again, and we see Jessica, the Deadite from Evil Dead Rise, awaken and take on some unsuspecting fishermen and just give them a brutal death. I was just like, the guys were just chilling, bro. Let them chill. But no, Deadite Jessica is on a mission to get to this family, to find that dagger and get rid of it, because the Deadites are going to be killed by it if she doesn't. This is when we meet our protagonist, Alice, who is married to Joseph's brother, Will, and they have a very horrible relationship. It is on the rocks. It is going to be completely destroyed, and if not already destroyed, they have this back and forth at a restaurant club that they own, and eventually Will storms off in his car. Nobody stops him, and he just crashes straight through Deadite Jessica, leaving them both in the car as it tumbles down a hill, eventually catches on fire. But right before this, Deadite Jessica's head, that has been severed now, recites the words of the Necronomicon and passes on the curse now to Will. We see Will's family reunite at his cremation, and this is where we see that the relationship between the family and Alice is horrible as well. It's only a good relationship between her and Joseph's girlfriend Thea, who's also there. But Susan, the mother, Edgar, the father, and Polly, the grandmother, don't really have that much of a close relationship with Alice, and they kind of sort of throw shade that this was probably Alice's fault. Eventually we see that Alice doesn't even want to give a word at the funeral, because we find out through the rest of the film that her and Will have had a pretty bad relationship, and we see that Will was pretty abusive to her as well. So of course there's no way that Alice was going to feel some type of way to go up there and commemorate somebody who treated her like shit. This is why it was a pretty bad idea to see Joseph invite Alice back to the lake house where the rest of the family are going after the cremation, because the family doesn't really want Alice there. They never had a relationship with her, and like I said, they kind of blame her for what happened to Will. And things start to really fall apart, because right before they made it out to the lake house, Edgar, the father, wanted to go and give a final sort of goodbye to his son Will, and this is when the Deadite Will comes out and now infects the father, passing on the curse to him as well. And it seems that the charred up Will is going to also make his way to the lake house at some point. I don't know what Will did before this, because he doesn't make it all the way to the end. Maybe he went out to recruit some Deadites. Who knows? We'll talk about that in theories. But back at the lake house, the father Edgar starts to turn into a Deadite, eventually killing the family dog Max. Yes, the dog dies. Yes, the dog gets brutalized here. And I was just like, damn, we're really going there. But Evil Dead kind of surprises me with this one, because it goes even further, and we'll talk about that in the end with the post-credit scenes. Eventually, the father collapses, the dog is dead, and Joseph and Thea decide to take the father to a hospital. But on this ride to the hospital, the father reanimates as a Deadite, attacking both of them, eventually killing Thea with a headrest as Joseph just runs away. And I was like, damn, Joseph, you're just gonna leave her like that. But nonetheless, he makes it back to his house, and back at the house, we saw that Alice just got attacked by Max, who they all thought was dead. So Susan and Alice already on edge. Joseph sprints through the door, and he is just petrified, like he just seen a ghost. But don't worry, the best is yet to come, as a knock comes at the door, and Thea is there, head risk through her head, and she is a Deadite now, who starts to attack Susan and everybody until they lock her in the basement. And Miss Polly, the grandmother's just like, she got my money. She wants my money. I really love Polly in this really amazing break and also comedy points to her. Really, really great stuff. Really gave the Evil Dead Burn that Evil Dead vibe, but it's not as much as other films, I will say. So now they got a Deadite in the basement. They have two Deadites outside with Max and Edgar trying to get in, and it doesn't seem that there's nowhere for them to go. They find out that they are looking for the dagger, and this is something that Joseph knows about. He has it, but he's not going to tell them where it is, and so the Deadites are going to do whatever it takes. Eventually, Thea does convince Polly to open the door for her because she says she'll give her back her money, and Polly obliges, and we see that Thea now goes on a rampage, and it's just all hell breaks loose in the house now. Joseph eventually manages to kill Thea, but right before this happened, we had seen that she infected Polly, and now Polly has the Deadite in her. And so Polly uses this to her advantage to sort of seduce Susan into the dark side with the Deadites, eventually letting her think that they are going to go away if they just give them the dagger, and she lets Edgar into the house as they share a passionate Deadite and human kiss, because this, of course, is a French horror film. And I thought it was one of the most interesting things to see in this film, and just see how people, when they get broken down so much, they can sort of succumb to these things. Especially Edgar not being the best, but Susan, just as he showed affection, was able to get down with it. But, you know, that's a whole other conversation. But now Deadites do kiss, get romantic, I don't know. So we see Susan try to convince Joseph to just give the Deadites the dagger and they will go away, which he doesn't oblige, and we see Edgar start to attack him and also Susan and Alice at this point. And then Alice is being fought by Polly, and Polly is about to kill her, even asks Susan to help kill her, and Susan's just about to do it as well because she's still under the impression that these Deadites are going to be helpful at some point if they help them. And also I think she just hates Alice, which she actually tells Alice a little bit later when they're able to get away from Polly and they go into a bathroom, and this is when Susan gets possessed herself and tries to kill Alice. Alice gets the better of her and is able to go up into the attic where she finally finds the dagger, and now a possessed Deadite Joseph comes through, but she's able to kill him with the dagger. She then kills also Susan and Edgar as she makes it out of the house to kill the dog Max, and all looks good. Everybody's dead now. She's gonna make it out alive, and that is until Will comes through, charred body and all, and tries to attack her and take the dagger himself. They eventually have a scuffle at the construction site that we saw at the beginning of the film, but eventually Alice gets the best of him and kills him with the dagger, and the movie ends with her eye looking like she's a Deadite now. I didn't catch that part, but it seems that she is maybe in tune with it. I don't know, but it is safe now for her. That is until the mid-credit scene pops up and Polly dragging herself. When a woman stops to try and help her, Polly, of course, then passes on the Deadite curse to her, and this woman has a car, so it seems that she's going to go after Alice now in this next film. But we also get one more post-credit scene that kind of changes the rules for everything now, and that is of Ellie Bixler returning yet again. Ellie from Rise is back, and she says, "Mommy is back," and it seems that it doesn't matter if you're a Deadite and your body gets completely desecrated, it's gone, it's obliterated, because that's what Beth did at the end of Rise to Ellie's body, because you indeed can just come back as a spirit of sorts. I don't know what the hell's going on here. I'll talk about that in the post-credit scene, my theory on it. But I thought the ending to Burn was really great, as we really got more lore expansion into the Deadites, the Necronomicon, as well as Benjamin, who is the grandfather of Will and also Joseph. It seems maybe he had a thing to do with Professor Noby, who of course is the voice behind the recordings that Ash listens to, that we see throughout the Evil Dead franchise. And I think in Evil Dead Wrath, which is the next film that is being directed by Francis Galuppi, set in the 70s, we probably will see Professor Noby as well as the grandfather Benjamin as the main characters here, who are part of the Circle of Wise Men, it seems, because we do get hints that the Circle of Wise Men is going to be a bigger deal when it comes to the Evil Dead franchise, as they are the ones who know about the Deadites, the Necronomicon, and how to defeat them with this dagger that they find. I wonder if there are more weaknesses we don't know yet for the Deadites that we'll probably find out about soon. But the reason now that Ellie is back, I think, is because maybe you can't get rid of the Deadites if you don't have the dagger. So if Ellie just got killed with whatever way she got killed, it didn't really count, and that Deadite's still out there. I think that's possibly what we're seeing here. So the rest of the Deadites from the rest of the franchise are probably still out there as well in some capacity, and we will see them. I don't know how much of this is tying into the show really, or how much they would do for that, because I feel like maybe that'd be a lot to try and contain into a sort of universe, but I'm pretty sure it's part of it, but I don't think it's that important if you haven't watched the show. I don't know if they'll integrate characters into it. I know there was a theory that some of the characters might appear in this next one, but we don't see it. Now, In one of the post-credit scene, there is another urn that they show that I believe said like Christopher. We don't know who that is, so I wonder if that's going to be somebody from Evil Dead Wrath when it comes out in 2028. But we'll see. I'm very curious where they're going with this, but for sure this ending sets up Alice as the new hero sort of survivor alongside Mia, alongside Ash, and of course Beth from Evil Dead Rise. So I wonder if in the next film we see all four of them sort of have a team up of sorts where they go up against the Deadites. It's a long shot. It's crazy. It might not happen, but I think that's what they're trying to set up here. And we see the rest of the Deadites give us a full-on Army of Darkness vibe where they go head-to-head with the Deadites, and I'd be there. I'm seated day one. But let me know what you think about it, because Alice is in possession of the Kandarian dagger, which is the thing that can destroy the Deadites. I don't know if the findings of Benjamin were also all burned up, or maybe Alice kept some of them, because I think those were going to be pretty crucial when it comes to trying to figure out what comes next with the Deadites. So I wonder where we go from here with that. I thought it was interesting too to see Polly is now passing on the possession of sorts, and it seems that the Deadites are very powerful, even more powerful than we expected them to be, and can't be contained. Because Polly can just pass on the possession, as we saw at the post-credit scene, and Deadites can live on without their bodies if they haven't been killed with the dagger, it seems, as we saw with Ellie Bixler. So we'll have to wait and see what that means for the film. Beyond just an Evil Dead film, I thought it was a great horror film, also a really good one of seeing someone overcome their trauma, overcome their abuser, even after death and all of that, because Alice was struggling with that. The family was covering up the abuse or not taking seriously because it was their family member. But like I said, I thought it was great. Stay tuned for my full review on it. Also, we'll talk about the post-credit scene, and I have a timeline video I'm working on. I just am trying to figure it all out, what I'm going to put into it if I'm doing this show as well. Stay tuned for that. But as always, I'll see all of you next time. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on Evil Dead Burn and its ending. Did you like it? Did you not? The post-credit scenes. Make sure you follow us wherever you can, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, or Letterboxd. I'll provide it here. And I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe. Stay positive.